Hi guys, welcome back to the James Bond Show. I'm your host, Krazy Kajeevie, with no fears, limits, or thumps. The bad boy of James Bond is back. Now, should James Bond be modernized? Should James Bond be sensitive? Now, this is a topic for the last 3 weeks pretty much that has driven the James Bond world crazy. And I thought I would finally get around to addressing this. And thank you to my subscribers who have asked me to address this. And what Barbara Broccoli said with her brother-in-law Michael Wilson when they sat down and they were interviewed by Variety magazine. Now, I'm not going to give you the exact quotes and everything because, to be honest, I can't really be stuffed. I looked it all up, I read it, etc, etc. I even put quotes in the thumbnail. But to paraphrase Miss Babsy Babe, she said that James Bond is evolving. And I don't know who's evolving faster, James Bond or men. Oh, that's it. No. It was men are evolving, and I don't know who's evolving faster, James Bond or men. What the feck does that mean, guys? What does that even mean? Men are evolving. Wow. Wow. Since 2006, when Daniel Craig took over the coveted role of James Bond and turned him into a shaved-chested behemoth looking like Red Grant, I think he's gotten pretty modern. I think he's gotten pretty sensitive and pretty progressive, and I don't know where, he can go from there unless they put him in pink tuxedo, maybe borrow Daniel Craig's pink tuxedo from the premiere of No Time to Die, and maybe dye his hair blue or do rainbow colours in the next James Bond's hair. That could be something. Now, if you really, this is interesting. Now, the media are loving this. So if the media, the lefties that sit in their basements, in their mama's basement, if they want a real progressive, modern, sensitive James Bond, then I know the actor to cast. Idris Elba! Cast Idris Elba, because there's nothing more sensitive to me, nothing more evolved and sensitive to me than a 235-pound Cockney black man that looks like a bouncer. Get Idris Elba on the double, people. Get him on the dial. He could definitely play the sensitive James Bond. That would be awesome. Right when he's swilling down a 24-pack of beer. Nice, warm British beer as well. Look, James Bond showed a little bit of a sensitive side, apparently, when he put the sunglasses on in Thunderball when Domino was telling him, or when he was telling Domino the woes of her brother, and when she was getting a little upset and crying. So there's been a little bit of sensitive James Bond right there. Now, of course, sensitivity should come when it's needed, when the script, the scene calls for it. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, you don't get better sensitivity than that. And I pretty much reckon that in 1969, that would have been pretty modern. I don't think too many men were blubbering over a dead wife back in the day. Not to mention that really modern sound design back in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Boing, boing, you will like chicken. Anyway, back to this. Also, Babsy, the great news too. This is really good news. I'm so excited about this. I'm trying to hide my excitement, people. Apparently, there are going to be larger roles for females. Larger roles for females from now on, because we've got to get modern. We've got to get progressive. Of course, Tracy's role as James Bond's wife wasn't super big. Tatiana Romanova being pretty much throughout the entire runtime of From Russia with Love, that wasn't big enough. So we've got to get bigger than that. And of course, Pussy Galore's Pussy role wasn't big enough. I really dug myself in a hole with that one, didn't I? So we need bigger roles for women. All I can just like, basically I got to pray on this, guys, that we do not get Larry Lunchbox Lynch, the bullfrog, the British bullfrog, that she doesn't come back, because if they make her role any bigger than what it was in No Time to Die, I don't think I will be able to stomach that, because now a year on, I look back at No Time to Die and look, even though she wasn't on first viewings, the bullfrog wasn't as annoying as I thought she would be on repeated viewings, and I have seen the film. I've only seen it 7 times now, 007 times. I am going to watch it again soon, but she just gets more annoying because, you know what, if you're going to commit to a character like that and you're going to modernise and you're going to give her a decent sized role, and that was a pretty decent sized role, if you're going to do that, actually do it with grace, do it with conviction, and do it with smarts. But when James Bond is fighting to save his family and he's lost in a boggy forest, and Nomi's the one that's supposed to be tracking Bond down, well, where exactly was she? Now, overall, what we really have to question here is, why does Barbara Broccoli want to make James Bond more sensitive? The fans want to go and see James Bond in a bloody jetpack. You want to see Bond giving a little tushy slap to the girls. You want to see the hot babes. You want to see the Aston Martin car, whether it's the DB5 or a modern Aston Martin. You want to see the gadgets. You want Q there, and Q giving the gadgets with a bit of humour. That's what us James Bond fans want. And, of course, we want the crazy-ass, ridiculous action. Ejector seat cars, James Bond jumping from cranes, jumping on trains, going crazy. The big explosions, the big set pieces, the crazy villains, the stunning locations, and the humour and all the tropes, like the beautiful clothes, and of course, like I mentioned, the cars. And we want that brief but fun interaction with Moneypenny and Q. We want Bond to go in and see M at the start of the mission and leave the Scooby-Doo gang behind. We don't want bigger roles for females when their name is Miss Moneypenny or Larry Lunchbox. I was going to call her Frogs. Larry Lunchbox Lynch, the old British bulldog. That's just not something I think audiences can take. Now, pretty much everyone I know has said, and other James Bond film reviewers, well, I don't know if you call them film reviewers, but James Bond reviewers, and even twats that run kind of infomercial type James Bond channels, lefty sellouts, that want to give you the softy sell nicely approach on this modernised James Bond, and basically stick their finger up your ass and give you a little kiss on the cheek and feed you a pile of crap and tell you that it's yummy lasagna, and bullshit to you because they get free socks and underwear and stuff like that, and tell you that Barbara Broccoli's on top of it and she'll look after you and everything's going to be okay. But I think that's a big old bunch of bullshit from an incestuous sock monkey. So I think the actual franchise is in trouble. I really do. I hope Aidan Turner is cast as the next James Bond, but when she's talking about progressive and saying that James Bond can be British, but of any colour or any nationality, well, if you're British, you're British, you know, but you've got to have that lineage to show you're British, just like James Bond did from the novels, having a Swiss mum and a Scottish father. So to go in and now modernise and make it progressive, I really worry about that. Also, prior to No Time to Die, we were assured by Daniel Craig and Phoebe Waller-Horseface Bridge that James Bond was going to stay James Bond, but in a modern Me Too world. Well, he really didn't stay James Bond, did he? Because he lost his 007 number. He got it back for about 10 minutes of the film, right before he got massacred by missiles. Also, yeah, he drank the martinis, but he didn't get to shag one other woman apart from good old Madeline. He didn't even shag Paloma. He was actually made to look like a bit of a simp when she was giving him the tuxedo, and it looked like Desperate Bond was going to get a young bit of beaver, but that young bit of beaver went, no, like that. And there you go. And let's be honest, even when Bond was with Madeline, he kind of did, because Daniel Craig aged a lot, he did kind of look like her father. So guys, I don't know where Barbara Broccoli is going to take this. I don't know who she's making these films for anymore. I don't want to come on here. I've said this 100 times. I don't want to come here, even though it's a bit funny now and it does make me laugh. I don't want to be coming here and bagging the franchise I absolutely love. You know what? I can love this franchise. I can love it from afar. I don't have to jump in with the James Bond community and slap backs, kiss ass, and do a one-on-one interview in my basement with another dude and look like we're about to go down on each other like infomercial experience dude does. That's not my cup of tea. I can love James Bond from afar, and I can also interact with my dear close James Bond friends on Facebook as well, and in the comment section of my YouTube channels. Also, I live in a little country called Australia down the bottom of the planet, and it's not exactly a stone's throw to go and hang out with all the Bond buddies. So hopefully that just sets the godfather, the self-appointed godfather of the James Bond community, and you all know who I'm talking about, when he does little bullshit videos about the James Bond community. And it's funny, that guy just lost about 300 subscribers. Interesting. Very interesting when you go on and make a video judging everybody. But if you're going to do a modern day James Bond video, don't sugarcoat it and feed people bullshit, because we all know, just like Star Wars, Terminator, Doctor Who, and many other franchises, that the woke brigade are bending James Bond over just like those franchises, and they are piling woke bullshit right up his keister. That's exactly what they're doing. Let's pray for a miracle, and hopefully they don't. Now, I've been going back and reading the James Bond novels. I've read Live and Let Die recently, in the last week and a bit, and Moonraker. Now, there were some sensitive moments with James Bond, and granted, Daniel Craig's James Bond was more akin to the James Bond of Ian Fleming's Bond in the novel, so that is fair enough. And the film certainly did inject the humour, a lot more humour than wasn't in the films, even though by the second novel, Live and Let Die, Fleming started to inject a bit more humour, and more humour still in Moonraker. I was about to say Goldfinger for some reason, but in Moonraker there was a bit of humour injected there too. But he was quite a sensitive, hard, tough bastard in the novels. But the film is normally 2 hours of escapist entertainment, and I think that's where the focus has to be. Sure, you know, when James Bond loses his wife, you've got that small little moment like in On Her Majesty's, like I said earlier, but do we want an entire 2 hour film of that? I don't really think we do. Also, I think it's going to help if they cut the runtime down of these films and cut the dialogue to a bit of a minimum, but make sure the humour's there. And that's why I think an actor like Aidan Turner will give us all what we really want with James Bond. So guys, that's been me talking about the sensitive, progressive James Bond, hopefully in the lead up to this film that's probably going to come out in 2030. Barbara Broccoli won't be talking about Black Lives Matter, or Me Too. And I will finish off by telling you guys this. I watched Everything or Nothing, the documentary film. I watched it again. I've probably seen it about 12 times, and I do love it. It is a fantastic film. I should do a review of it here on the James Bond show, but it's heavily biased towards Eon, because if you look at the production companies behind it and distributing it, it's basically the same, the James Bond people and MGM, etc. But within that, Barbara Broccoli showed, you know, a really soft, nice side to her, and she talked about her father really glowingly. And it was very moving. And it's just the part where she's talking about how her father passed away. And she reveals, as I think most of us know now, but I really want to touch on this, that Cubby Broccoli said to her, go back to Ian Fleming, you've got everything there, don't let outside influences come in. And that is exactly what Barbara Broccoli is doing, because Black Lives Matter, the Me Too kind of crap, is not in the Fleming novels. It's not in the previous films. So Barbara Broccoli, if you ever hear this, do not, unless you're going along with a certain elite agenda that's happening out there, this new world order that these elites are trying to build, and they're trying to trash families, and they're trying to doing a Trojan horse into the minds of children and family, and they're trying to destroy. When you destroy a family, you go after the man, because the man sets a precedence for masculinity. And this is why white toxic masculinity is targeted so much. And that is why they're going after James Bond, because there isn't a greater definition of toxic masculinity, apparently, than James Bond 007. And a real fan who really loves James Bond, instead of slapping ass and tickling dick with his mates in his basement, actually gets on, shows his face like this, talks down the camera and says James Bond needs to be saved and not be modernized with woke bullshit. I've been Krazy Kajeevie, the bad boy of James Bond. Keep on bonding. Real fans keep on bonding. And say hi to your mum for me.